Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. I've been kind of neglecting LSU, but not any longer, man. If you haven't heard the news, you now know the news. LSU will be going to the SEC Championship. We'll be facing Georgia. No matter what they do at the end of this season against UAB and Texas A&M, they are guaranteed a spot in the SEC Championship in Atlanta against the Georgia Bulldogs. That will be set. That will be a good game. And man, this is Brian Kelly's first year at LSU. Obviously, LSU let go of Ed Orgeron this offseason. Shocking news at who they hired as coach. No one was expecting Brian Kelly, but we made a splash. Went to get one of the winningest coaches in college football in the last decade. Had a great tenure at Notre Dame, but coming from Notre Dame, he did have questions about him, regarding his move to LSU. And a lot of questions were kind of stupid, but some of those questions were fair. Some of those questions were fair assessments, fair judgments, and they needed to be answered, when he got on the field and coached for this team. We can go through some of those questions right now. The first one was, would he be a culture fit down in Baton Rouge? Obviously, we know Louisiana is a different place, man. This is nothing like Notre Dame. This would be a totally different atmosphere, different pressure, different expectations. Everything about the Louisiana culture is different, man. We're rowdy, we're wild, we're drinking, and we love our sports. It's like life or death to some people. LSU football, Saints football, Pelicans basketball, LSU baseball, whatever you want to name it. It is life or death when it comes to sports in the South. So they were asking, would he be a culture fit? They made fun of him. They said he had a fake accent, this and that, when he was talking to the fans at a basketball game. But obviously he showed that, hey, even if he doesn't fit in, he's winning games. It don't matter. If you win games, you'll fit in. Also, big games. Big games was a very, very big question for him. Obviously, the LSU really hasn't won a big game, hand quotations, if you want to, count SEC championships, playoff wins, national championship wins. Even when Brian Kelly was asked, was, the Alabama game his biggest win of his coaching career, he even said, no, my biggest win will be when I win a national championship. And I respect that from him, because that's the expectations we have. That's the expectations he needs to have on himself. Don't be, happy with just beating Alabama. Let that just become normal. Let that just become normal. So big games, I can count the Ole Miss game. You got the number 17 in the country coming to your house. You beat them. Then you backdoor with a top 5 team or top 6 team, whatever Alabama was, coming to your house. And we know Alabama has owned LSU at home for the last decade plus. Haven't beat them since 2010 at home. So the big games were a question. I can kind of count those 2 games. It's kind of big wins for Brian Kelly, man. You're in a tough SEC West. That's 2 big wins, 2 top 10 opponents in your home. That's big wins for him. That's a good way to start off his SEC tenure with the Tigers. Also, recruiting. Recruiting was going to be a big thing for Brian Kelly. He recruited well at Notre Dame. But LSU, you have big expectations. You have a lot of guys in the state of Louisiana, a lot of guys that leave the state and goes to the likes of Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Texas. You just don't want to see that. You don't want to have those 4 and 5 stars that's in Louisiana leave the state. And in-state, he's recruited very, very well in-state. He's gotten all the big names out of the in-state crowd in Louisiana. So that's definitely a good thing, man. You have to recruit in Louisiana well first. He's done that. Also, recruiting out of state, man. You got to get some of these big names that are not from Louisiana, man. That's definitely going to be a big part. Recruiting class is not finished yet, but it's looking like they're going to be heading to a top 3 recruiting class in Brian Kelly's first year. That's going to be super, super big. That if he can secure a top 5 class, honestly, first year is going to be pretty good. But if he can secure a top 3 class, be right up there with the A&Ms, Alabamas, Georgias, Ohio States, that's going to be very big. He's going to show that he can recruit. And then guess what? The best thing for recruiting is winning football games. And we've been doing that so far. So Brian Kelly's off to a good start for the Tigers so far, man. And we're off to the SEC Championship. I'll have more on that later. But I kind of want to talk about this roster. The way he came in at LSU, man, we started, if you remember, you watched that bowl game for LSU, we started a 6-string receiver at quarterback, had a bunch of walk-ons and guys that never really played in that bowl game. At LSU looked absolutely horrendous, and looked like this program is going to be in a rebuilding year for the next 2 or 3 years. That's what it looked like. Brian Kelly came in with no quarterback on the roster, or at least none to his liking, no tight ends on the roster, no real tackles on the roster as well. Offensive lineman was depleted. Secondary was depleted. You had Eli Ricks, who was a little bum and went to Alabama. Don't want to talk about that because he held that L anyway. So, he just came to a depleted roster at LSU, and he turned it around in one real, I won't say off season, I guess one summer. one summer for the Tigers, man. He got a bunch of transfers in. He hit the transfer portal hard. Got Jayden Daniels. Got some key freshmen. We have like 4 key freshmen that's playing for us right now that are really, really good players that's going to be building blocks to the future with Mason Taylor, Harold Perkins, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, just right off the bat. Those guys are playing well. So just keeping those guys secured, because when he came in, a lot of those guys could have hit the portal, not hit the portal, but decommitted from LSU and say they didn't want to come here. But securing those guys, making sure he secured Walker Howard. I could throw him into that freshman group. He's just not playing right now because Jayden Daniels is the starter. Really good player, is gonna have a chance to play pro. So this is the first year for Brian Kelly, but man, he gets an A+++++ so far right now. I would add more pluses, but we shouldn't have lost to Florida State. But I mean, if you look at it, you got 10 transfers starting against Florida State. You got a new quarterback with new receivers. First game of the season, new system, all of these things, new coaching staff, man, a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations, and we just shit the bed. It's okay, it happens. It just can't happen often, and we did that the first game of the year, and I'm not too mad at the other losses to number 5 ranked Tennessee, who's looking like they're going to be in the college football playoff this year. So you can't really be mad at those 2 losses, man. That first game, I wish we could take back. We didn't have guys like Harold Perkins playing. Mason Taylor isn't the same Mason Taylor he is today. Jayden Daniels, Josh Williams, Emory Williams suspended. We had our corner from Arkansas who transferred in. He didn't play, so a lot of guys didn't play that first game, but we still couldn't win that game. But at least FSU is looking like a top 20 team, so that loss isn't going to be as bad as it seemed when it happened week 1, because week 1, hey man, it was looking like the same LSU Tigers, looking like we were going to win 4 to 5 games, and we've turned it around, looking like we're headed for a 10-win season in Brian Kelly's first year, and that's just excellent. Now, before I get out of here, we got to talk about these freshmen. We got to talk about these freshmen, man. We can start off with the 2 tackles, Emory Jones, Will Campbell. They've been playing as best as you can as left tackle and right tackle in the SEC, man. Just thrown out there in the fire. True freshmen, no experience, going against some of the best defensive ends, best defensive linemen that you'll face. Like in college football, they're doing that at 18 and 19 years old, and they're holding their own. Yeah, they get beat sometimes. Yeah, they make mistakes, but what you expect? They shouldn't even be out there technically, playing right now. But it's going to be a great experience for them. They're going to come back as true sophomores and be starting again. You know how, that's going to be great for their development. They're going to come in next year having all that experience under their belt. We got some more good offensive linemen coming in. So we might be starting like 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen next year. We'll see how that turns out. But, man, those freshman tackles have been playing well. Then we go to Mason Taylor. Oh, he's had a rocky year. Starting off, he basically missed that block, the missed extra point against Florida State. That was his responsibility. He had some key drops. He was missing some blocks. But then he started turning the corner, man. LSU kept leaving him out there. Credit to the coaching staff. Credit to Brian Kelly. They didn't bench the kid. They kept letting him play. They knew he was a player. And, man, he's made big-time plays. He's been our best, run blocker. He's been absolutely excellent, blocking for Jayden Daniels, RPOs, and things like that. And then he had the big touchdown catch against Alabama, and obviously the big 2-point conversion against Alabama to seal that game, to win that game, as the crowd rushes the field barely before he even, gets his knee down in the end zone. So those freshmen has been perfect for the LSU Tigers this year. But there's one guy. There's one guy that we have to talk about. I don't want to, overstate this, but I also don't want to understate it. I honestly think Harold Perkins can go down as, if not the best player in LSU defensive history, the best player in college football history on the defensive side of the ball, but maybe the best player in college football history. That's how much talent he has. Now, will he do that? Maybe not. Obviously, that's high expectations. But, man, this kid is a star. I see why he was, the most highly touted recruit in college football. This dude is an absolute stud. This last game against Arkansas, 2 forced fumbles, like 9 quarterback hurries, 4 sacks. He's doing this as an 18-year-old freshman. He has no pass rush moves. He doesn't really know what he's doing out there. He's just a better athlete than everybody. He's quarterback spawn. He's rushing the passer. I can't wait to see what he can do in coverage. But this dude's an absolute beast. What Michael Parsons did at Penn State, I think he's going to top that easily. If we're just comparing him by freshman year, Harold Perkins is much better than Michael Parsons was. And that's absolutely crazy to say because we see what Michael Parsons is doing in the NFL. This guy has an absolute chance to be one of the best players college football has ever seen. And I'm not just saying that. because he's an LSU Tiger. It's literally a fact. If you watch him play, you'll understand. Harold Perkins, he's that guy. He's that guy, man. I can't wait to see him against Georgia, him against some better competition. Even though he's played good competition, Alabama didn't play against Tennessee, only played 9 steps, but he's played good competition against Ole Miss. But man, when he gets older, he gets more mature, he starts to learn the game of football even better. He's gonna be a scary, scary sight to see, man. So LSU, SEC championship, year 1, college football playoff. Hey man, it's lurking. It's lurking. We don't know what's gonna happen, but it's lurking. We'll see what happens, with the teams in front of us. We need TCU to probably lose a game, Michigan, Ohio State to drop 1, USC, couple teams, couple things. But the main thing is we got to win now. We got to focus on LSU, but it's looking good so far in Brian Kelly's first year. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below about these LSU Tigers. As always, this is DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.